We are fallible because we are men. It doesn't matter how bad it is. And one thing we must understand as organization, as a people, is that we are not built to not have an error. You're bound to make a mistake. But ability to own up to that mistake, that's where trust lies. That's where transparency comes in. Then that's where public trust begins to exist. So we must understand the fact that no business survives in lies. No business survives without truth and transparency, and that should be the foundation where businesses are built. Not just in businesses, the foundation where also employees' health, safety, and well-being could be predicated.
Across Africa today, unsafe workplaces, chronic stress, poor economic designs, and weak wellness structures continue to affect productivity, employee morale, and national economic growth. The continent loses billions of dollars annually to preventable workplace-related illnesses, injuries, and burnout. Yet the conversation about occupational health and worker well-being remains limited, fragmented, and under-prioritized. This episode aims to elevate issues with data, clarity, and direction. Just Africa is reaching you live from our studios in Lagos. I am Olumide Shokwaya. Of course, I also have Omevi Idolo. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good afternoon, Lagos. Good afternoon, Nigeria, Africa, and to you from wherever you watch it from across the globe. Yes, you were saying something.
Yes, today we will be looking at a very fundamental question. It has to do with corporate deficit in corporate sector, how communications, branding, and all that. So now, we have a lot of companies in Nigeria, beautiful companies. And sometimes you hear, I remember there was a particular, I will not mention the name, there was a particular noodles that we got a rumor that it had something to do with poison.
Yeah,
if you remember that story. And, you know, they spent a whole lot trying to rebrand. You know, they came out with new packages, they came out with new things, you know, trying to just dispel that rumor. And, you know, we've seen other companies come out like that, you know, with different things and all that. And branding actually matters a lot. We've seen, I just don't want to mention a lot of names, but we've seen even beverages, how they've rebranded. If there's a particular beverage that you have your name on top, and you know, it speaks to ownership, because imagine you taking a beverage with your name on it, you know, it speaks to you, it makes you feel at home. You know, so those are one of the ways, you know, companies have been able to rebrand and try to pass a certain message to the consumer, trying to bring them closer. Because whether you like it or not, your consumer, how your consumer feels about your brand, your product matters a lot.
Yeah, you know, when it comes to communication, people think it is just words of mouth and all that. It goes beyond that. If we understand clearly, you'll know that the African stories, or the way the stories about African companies are being painted out there, it is always fragmented. We talk, you hear stories of insecurity, you hear stories of non-profit, you hear different stories, but you don't hear the parts of truth. So truth is nowhere to be found in African companies. And when you look at the people telling the stories, they are not African companies. They are non-Africans. So you see, most of those things you talked about, if you dig deep, you will understand that the one telling the story about that particular noodles will understand that it is maybe probably not from Nigeria. It has happened with our vegetable oils. They tell us that our red oil is not good enough, so we should be using other products. So they come here, take our vegetable oil, our red oil, take it there, refine it, and what? And they bring it back to us as vegetable oil, and we buy our own products again. And meanwhile, to a very large extent, you understand that our red oils are better. So what do our African companies really need to do? We need to retell the stories. It goes beyond branding. So if we tell our stories ourselves, if we tell the people this is what we are, just as you said now, a particular product, putting your own name there, of course, the consumer wants to say, oh, because my name is there, they are bringing you closer. So they understand that, yes, these people know what they are doing. So we have to tell our own stories until our own companies understand that, or rather African companies understand that, okay, right now, we are going to brand it. We're going to do more than just having logo. We are going to tell the story to other African countries and to the global world that our products are as good as they are. That is the communication we're talking about. We have to communicate truth. We have to communicate trust. We have to say everything we need to say to ensure that, yes, our products from Africa are as good to a large extent when compared to others.
And reframing Africa's corporate narrative through communications, branding, and trust building. Joining us to unpack this robust topic is Eden. Mr. Eden. I hope I got that correct.
Yeah, you're correct.
Thank you very much for joining us on Just Africa today.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome. So let's get into today's topic. It's quite interesting what corporate organizations are going through. Why do you think many Africans, struggle, with public trust?
Well, like your colleague actually said, African stories are not told by Africans. Stories are better. The family story is better when an insider in that family is able to tell the real story. And a whole lot in the companies across Africa, as I understand, is even in terms of employees' engagement activities, we believe there must be things that we must conceal.
Yes.
One thing I understand is what you call the just system. The just system talks about transparency. It doesn't matter how bad it is. And one thing we must understand as organizations, as a people, is that we are fallible because we are men.
Yeah.
So we understand that we are not built to not have an error. You're bound to make a mistake. But ability to own up to that mistake, that's where trust lies. That's where transparency comes in. Then that's where public trust begins to exist. It doesn't matter what went wrong. Several cases that have been alluded to by several studies. I mean, mostly in what you can refer to as medication trials, right? One of the courses we did some time ago, people had, in the trial processes, there were failures, but they were not documented for the trials to go through. But the truth is that when you document your failure, it gives another person the opportunity to know what are those bottlenecks that you could unravel.
Yeah. And
it gives rooms to a new phase of research. So we must understand the fact that no business survives in lies. No business survives without truth and transparency, and that should be the foundation where businesses are built. Not just in businesses, the foundation where also employees' health, safety, and well-being could be predicated.
This conversation focuses on something overlooked but deeply critical to the economic growth, workplace health, and well-being and safety. Now, across Africa, millions of workers face unsafe conditions, burnout, mental stress, limited access to basic occupational health support. Yet, healthy, protected workers are the backbone of productive businesses and sustainable economies. Now, on this episode of Just Africa, we ask a simple question, but powerful. How do we build African workforces that are not just employed, but healthy, safe, and future-ready? Joining us to unpack this robust topic is Dr. Eden, Chief Executive Officer, OHSM, Occupational Health and Safety Leader, Doctoral Fellow on Workplace Health and Wellness Promotion, President, OSH Africa, WHO External Review Member on Workplace Mental Health. So glad to have you. Quite impressive, outstanding CV you have there.
Thank you so much. Thank
Yes,
you so much.
just like I said earlier on, when we talk about workforce, we're always looking at technology, productivity.
Yeah.
But everybody seems to forget. I mean, I had to take it upon myself to get up every 1 or 2 hours to walk around, But why do you think, what brought about this level?
You see, you can't be productive without a healthy workforce.
Yeah.
That's where the connection lies. Any economy that must be productive and active and economically buoyant is predicated on the healthy population that lies within the economy. And it's not just a new thing, it's a precondition to productivity. But what we found out in this part of the world where we live in is like most employers see health, safety, and well-being of employee as an added cost to business. But it's not an added cost to business, it's an integral part of the business, a process you must look into. But why this has become so critical from what we've seen it is lack of awareness and understanding of what occupational health safety and well-being really means to business. So they're looking at it from the short-term perspective. Definitely, if you want to weigh it or manage it from the short-term perspective, it will seemingly look like a cost to you. But when you look at the long-term result, it's always good. I mean, most of the studies that have been done across the world, and they've alluded to the fact that every $1 invested in health safety and well-being of employees is capable of giving you a $4 to $6 return on investment. So that's how big it is. So when we look at this, we're able to take care of people that work for us, able to cater for them. Because we look at people at work, but the truth is that they are at work. The question you ask yourself is, are they productive? That's where the issue of presenteeism come in. People come to work, they are just present in the workplace, but they are not optimally productive. So embracing occupational health and safety, one, it helps you reduce what you call the direct and indirect cost. I mean, that comes from the head cost of employee. Because one, you find out that people are more in the workplace vis-a-vis what you see people spending more time in the hospital. Okay, people are in the workplace, they are productive vis-a-vis what you have people coming to the workplace. I mean, they just sit down. That's what you call the working wounded workforce. They are in the workplace, they are wounded, they are not even supposed to be in the workplace, but because you want them to be in the workplace, they are there, but they are not productive. And because nobody measures productivity in line with what employees is bringing in, it becomes a big problem. But the truth is, head or tail, with health and safety, you can never lose. So because it keeps people healthy, it keeps the company productive, it keeps the owners of the business, it makes them profitable. And when the business is profitable, that's the only reason why the board is able to smile as the CEO. And when this doesn't happen, then you have a problem.
Okay, yeah, thank you, doctor. So the truth is, in Africa, people don't quit. People don't resign, even when they are burning out. When they have mental issues, when they have health issues, they just want to go. One, they'll tell you, maybe the HR did not approve their leaves.
Yes,
or,
come on.
I need money to keep my family going. There are so many reasons people don't quit. And the organization most times ignore these signs. So at what point does an African company or workplace ignore these things, and what are the effects of all this?
Two factors are responsible from the point you brought in. Two factors responsible why people don't quit from their work in spite of the risk inherent in that job. One is poverty index, second one is unemployment. So people want to hold on to what they have. So these are the two key drivers why people must stay put in their job, irrespective of what the job does to them. But the truth is, no job is too important to destroy your life. Because that's why when we talk about safety, one thing we talk about is that my life matters. It's a man or a woman that's alive tomorrow that's employable by another company. So you stay in the job, the job affects you. Most times, even right now, you're seeing people getting retired, not because they're at the age of retirement, they're being retired on health ground. But the job that destroyed them is the same job where they're retired from. So there's a lot of exposure that you have to go through in the workplace, and you know, yeah, I'm going through a lot. You have to be able to speak up. And why we find out that people are not speaking up, most organizations have been wired to silence workers, and that's why that's why most time we work with ITUC, because to elevate the voice of workers. A place where you work and your voice is not elevated, is no freedom of speech. That's not a good workplace. As a matter of fact, when you look at the ILO principles of right to safe workplace, it talks about you have the right to speak up. You have the right to safe workplace. It's part of your fundamental human right. So most time workplaces don't provide this. But I make bold to say that for you to even have people gather in a place you call a workplace, there's what you call the duty of care. It's the responsibility of the employer. You can't bring people out of their houses, or people's children, people's parents, people's relatives, to gather them in the workplace that they are not sure of coming back home the way they left home. So employers always as a duty of care to create safe and healthy workplace where employees health and well-being of employees can thrive. If this is not working, that's where government comes in. Government is the umpire, is the enforcer of legislation and enforcer of the law. But most times what we see in most parts of Africa, not just Nigeria, most parts of Africa, is that even the legislations are weak. See, the truth is that it's been said, where there is no law, there is no offense.
Yes.
The legislations are weak, the policies are weak. Even when you have the legislation, most of them are unduly outdated. I'll give you a clear example. We thank our last president, President Muhammadu Buhari, who he was the one who had the audacity to sign the Nigeria Mental Health Act into law.
Okay.
Before then, you know what we had, I think the 1958 the Lunacy Act, which of course was a fallout from what we have with colonial masters. I was in Morocco recently. I found that Morocco has 1957 mental health ordinance or so. How do you expect that to be useful in the new workplace reality? We're talking about automation, artificial intelligence, advancement in technology. We are using laws that were formulated, 1950s, where we didn't know how the future was going to look like. So these are the critical issues. So we need to see how we can have good legislations, good policies. We have to have what we call good enforcement processes, where people need to come to workplace and feel safe. It doesn't matter how much we declare as profit, and that's one thing we are driving in West Africa. No company has a right or has good moral to declare profits after tax when you are not giving us the numbers of the people that you killed at the process of making those profits. And this is where the correlation should be built.
Before Olumide takes you, Doctor, I want to ask, who is responsible for noticing burnout? Is it the HR? Is it a colleague? Dr. Ismail, who should we hold responsible? Is it the management or is it the employer? Because when a staff is burning out, most of the time, the employer will tell you, I do not know about it. So whom should we really hold responsible?
The truth is, in a company or an organization that has what you call good mental health culture, it shouldn't be the HRO. It shouldn't be the safety officer. It shouldn't be the CEO. It should be, we should all know when somebody is burning out. Mostly for those that work directly with them. One of the things we found out, from some studies that have been done by WHO, we've realized, managers and supervisors had a problem when you talk about burnout. Managers and supervisors grew from technical background. You came into this organization from a certain background as a technical person. You grew into a management position.
Yes.
That's where the fallout comes from. We forgot that you came from a technical background, from the background where you're coming from, ever from the factory or as a farmer or whatever. Now we've promoted you based on your activities and the excellence performance. You are now a manager. But what we found out that the organization forgets to train these people to be real managers. That's where the problem is. So the manager become terrible in managing people. It's not that he wants to be bad. That's who he is. But it is responsibility of the organization every promotion must come with its own requisite training. If somebody is promoted to become a manager, one of the first training that you must give to that person is emotional intelligence training. A lot of people are intelligent, but not everybody is emotionally intelligent. So that helps you to understand the classes and categories of people you're working with and able to understand what we call human behavior. It's not everything that happens in the workplace that needs to be solved by rod or by cane. Talk about the mental health issue. People are coming to the workplace. We all know our colleague who used to be pop and playing. He's well dressed. He's one of the best dressed person. Talk about somebody being put together. That's him. But all of a sudden, we're seeing him. He's falling apart right under our watch. We are busy looking at the figures. Nobody's looking at people who produce the figures. So the guy is falling apart, and nobody is seeing him. The next thing you see is that his direct line manager feels he's not being productive, and the next thing you see, he's called and summoned and said that you're not meeting your target and all have you. But that's not the guy's problem, really. At that time that we are telling the guy, you're not meeting your target, we don't even know what the guy is going through. One statement that we need to take home or bring back to the office in the workplace is, are you okay? A study in UK said it is okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
Ask people, are you okay? But we don't find out what people are doing, how people are doing. All we are looking at for, have you met your target? It's a man that is sane, that's mentally stable, that can meet target. And we destroy the guy comes in, the next thing we send the guy query, and he answers the query, and we're not satisfied, he's still not being productive. The next thing we place him on suspension, maybe about 2 months or 1 month without pay. These are the, supervisory and HRO processes. And the guy goes and go home, he doesn't have pay for 2 months, he's called back to the office, maybe somebody intervened, let's keep him, he might be better over time. But how will you feel as a system if after about 9 months, you realize that the guy that we all treated this way, at the time we're doing this to him, he was battling one of the most terrible divorces that you can ever record. But at the point when he needed us most as an organization, we all turned our back and we became part of the problem. But mind you, studies have said that people spend higher number of their work hours in the workplace. It means your family is there in the workplace. And if we must look at each other this way, when he falls down, I fall down. When she falls down, you fall down. If one must look after the other, and the other look after the other, we'll build a very and safe and mentally sound workplace.
Thank you very much. This was where I was coming to, mental well-being. Because, you know, in our line of business, they tell you drop your problems at the gate as you're coming. That's for people who work in the broadcast media. That's what they tell us. Basically, what they're just telling you is just put your productive armor on and give your best. And sometimes...
Can we rephrase that? Yeah, I understand that point. When you're coming to... What's your name, sir, again?
Olumide.
When you're coming into this place, right, you are Mr. Olumide. Understand that. When you leave the gate, you are Rince's husband. Why am I saying that? We must understand that you live in two places. So let's not forget that the workplace is not the sole place where your mental health may be affected. You work here, you live in the home. No matter what we do here for you, Olumide, if your home does not contribute positively to what we do, we can't achieve any results. So that's why the approach we use in mental health is an employee and employee's family approach. What that means, whatsoever you are teaching the employees within the workplace, by extension, see how this message can be passed to the family. A man can leave the workplace, does very well, and he goes back home for the weekend. He's back the next week. He's a different person entirely. Everything about him is shattered. What happened? So we must not, when we employ a person, by extension, we employ his family members. Why? Because whatsoever happens to this person affects his family. Whatsoever happens to the family affects this person. This is what you call this is where you have the connectedness of everyone. That's why you have what you call the primary victim and the secondary victim. Because if this person is not handled properly, he dies in the workplace. Remember, he has a family. The family becomes the secondary victim. This is how everything is connected.
All right, thank you very much. 2 questions I wanted to ask. In response to what you just said, most of the time, let's look at the worker himself. Why does he feel reluctant to express himself? Do you think maybe he's scared of losing his job and all that? Then second question, whenever a new employee is being hired, he's being told to go and do tests. He does HIV, he does man-tox test, some even do pregnancy tests. But we don't do anything related to
mental health,
Why do companies frown or shy away from that?
Let's even take it primarily from that test perspective. You know, this is something we've spoken to from occupational health perspective. You see, that's even wrong, and that's what we see everywhere. People just write, who wrote those tests? Somebody went somewhere, maybe went into one repository and copied some tests. This is what we must do. You see, when we talk about pre-employment tests, it's job dependent to start with. You work as a secretary, and the other person works as a chemist. Why would you do the same test? Because you are in the office at all time. Maybe you work as a personal assistant to the MD. You are an admin person. But the chemist is busy working with chemicals. The drivers that work here, they are on the road at all time. Why would we do the basic test that we do for the admin person, for the driver, and for the chemist? So pre-employment test is job dependent. We look at the job you're going to do. Based on that job, we're able to draw out what are the areas we need to look out for. For the chemist, there might be need to do what you call chemical handlers test along with other tests, which of course looks at the lungs and the kidneys. We look at do spirometry, you do urea electoral creatinine to look at the lungs and the kidneys. It's very important, but most time we see people doing HIV, AIDS, and all have you. If it's positive, what will you do? It's positive, what will you do? You don't have the right to deny somebody employment because HIV positive. What do you do? HIV AIDS is not a requisite test in pre-employment most times. People just do it, but the question is, you might do it to see his status, but the truth is that you can't even do this thing without his consent. Did you tell him that you go take his blood and do HIV test? Did they consent to it? And if you find out that he's positive, what will you do? Will you not throw him out? So these are some of the issues that are spiking along this line. So for mental health issue, it's important that we look at. I'm happy you brought that up. You need to have that as the world we are going into right now. That becomes a very compulsory component of our pre-employment. But the question is, you find out that the person, he has underlying mental health condition, like I said, what are you going to do? You don't have the right. But now what you have done with that assessment and the outcome is that you have complete profile of who the person is. You're able to see how am I going to manage the person. Are there things the person will be subjected to that will further aggravate his existing condition? Are there areas I can help him and manage him properly and able to provide for him or her mental health support through EAP or through These are the things, but it tells you that this is possible. But those tests, they are very, not just you remember when we were doing the last election, people were requesting that must be part of
the requisites
for politicians.
Yes.
Those are also workers, they work for the nation. Compulsorily, that should be a test that must be done. Because now we're going to the future, we're talking about high advancement in technology where the workers will be stressed or drained beyond the scoping capacity. You need to know if the person has the resilience that is needed. The resilience is needed for him to be able to actually cope, and to what extent have we stretched the person. And these are very key issues. But again, we must also train our people outside all this. You have done all the tests. The person is coming to work in the workplace. How do you identify that this person is presenting symptoms that you can say, okay, it has a correlation or predisposed to stress? You need to know what to look out for in people to say, okay, I think this person is having that issue. How do we help? How does help come the person's way? And this is where you balance.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Ehi. So what we've seen in workspaces, especially for those in construction sites, you hear you must wear your helmet, you must wear your safety boots, you must wear a jacket. I remember when this Souk News moved down to this building, yes, the fire service actually came and trained us on how to stay safe in case there's fire, the exit routes, and all that. I'm still on mental health now. Yeah. Nobody told us, or no, in workspace, no one takes the mental health issue as seriously as physical injury. What does it take, or what will it take for a workplace, for an organization to take a mental health issue as serious as physical injury?
Okay, let me take it from history, okay? To be honest with you, even when we started talking about occupational health, many years ago, mental health was not classified as occupational health issue by ILO until many years after. Science is not static. We can trust science. As things begin to evolve, we are seeing areas needing attention. You give them the requisite attention, okay? But when it comes to mental health, as it evolves, I'm trying to grab that question again.
Yes. What will it take for organizations to make it serious?
First thing is to have what is not documented is not in the system. In your corporate health and safety policy, do you have mental health provided for in that policy? So you have to first go back to the basis, take your policy, review it. Do we have any element within this policy that speaks to employees' mental health and well-being? If it's not there, review your policy and include that. I bet you most policies that were drafted before COVID may not have had mental health issue, mental health component. Mental health became a big problem after COVID came. So review your policy, let it have a component of mental health and what we want to do. Secondly, mental health is not driven from the bottom, it's driven from the top. We need leadership commitment to drive mental health. When you have what you call the modern day business leaders, they know what it means. I mean, what mental health means to their business. It could boom your business, it could wreck your business. So they know the importance. What they're doing right now is that firstly, they are opening up the space for people to be able to talk about mental health. And why it becomes an issue is that the stigmatization that surrounds mental health is you can't just speak about it. It's just too huge. What we're talking about, normalize mental health conversation in your workplace first. A good way to go. So that people are able to talk about, okay, now you go to hospital to go and take treatment for typhoid or for malaria. You can't say, I went to hospital, I went to treat malaria. But let Olumide come and tell you, I went to hospital to go and see my mental health doctor. You will turn back and look at him a second time. That's the stigma. So we are here to understand what mental health really is. It's not that people that talk about mental. Okay, even yesterday I was at one of the mall on Friday, 2 days ago, on one of the mall on the island. So I met a lady who said, "What do I say?" Or one of my suspects is met. I said, "Oh, you manage people that are non." I said, "No, that's the problem." So mental health doesn't mean that people that are actually out of their mind. That's not the issue. See, what you do is, for us to be able to actually have mental health to run our workplace, just imagine you have your CEO. He said, okay, today is our mental health day in this office. And the CEO comes and stands and says, I want to share my mental health story. You know what that does? It has helped you to normalize mental health conversation, because knowing that the CEO has been able to share his story, we all listen. You find out that what the CEO went through, how he was able to overcome it, and he shared with all of us. You find that people in the system have similar issue, but the CEO has just elevated their voice by speaking up about his own personal mental health story, and people are able to talk about mental health. So that, I mean, people that work at the same department will talk, sir, I think I have this issue. If he doesn't know, you won't know how to signpost him where he can get support or get treatment. And this is how mental health actually comes to the workplace. That I mean, when people have mental health, say they have mental health condition, we should all support him. Just like I'm sure you've seen some videos where people that have cancer, they're cutting their hair, everybody comes to support them, they cut their hair. We should gather so much support for people that have mental health issues. It's not the end of everything. It's like every other illness. It is treatable. People survive it and come back better. I mean, we need to give that support. But until we do that, the stigma that it has today, we even fall higher. But we need to just destigmatize mental health and let people be able to speak up with that mental health condition without any fear of judgment or being bullied within the workplace because the person has mental health condition. No, it's just like every other sickness, and we should take it in that manner.
All right, thank you, doctor. Talking about stigmatization, I'll be the voice for the women right now. Pardon me, Olumide, they always tell me that I'm a voice for the women when it comes to Just Africa. Yes, when it comes to a lady's menstrual cycle, during that period of time every month, some women go through these challenges.
Sure.
It affects their performance, it affects their mental health, it goes a long way. But most workplaces don't see these cramps that women go through as anything important. We have seen situations, not here though, in places where a woman goes and say, I need 2 days off because I am going through cramps. It is that time of the month where I have to go through this, and they tell you that is your personal problem.
What's that name again?
Omevi.
Huh?
Omevi.
I'll speak for you. Know why I'll lend voice to this, because I'm a father of two girls.
Yes, sir.
So I speak for the girl child as well. You see, two things that is not acceptable in any balance you put it. Many years ago, I was not as experienced as this. Then we're having a Twitter conversation. I said, we have festive bus in the workplace for something as little as menstrual period. The feedback I got it's changed my narrative. How do you know menstrual pain is little when you've never been through it? And that's changed my narrative, my perception. The truth is that not just menstrual period. In some countries, UK has that right now. In some countries right now, menstruation and pre-menopausal conditions have been classified as occupational health issues. They are being provided for in workplaces. That you are a man, you don't go through that, but our female counterparts go through it. We should respect that. We don't know how it feels. So when they say they're going through cramps, they can't come to work. I mean, people should. I mean, even right now, we have what you call people can work remotely. Allow them to work remotely and give them soft work process within light job for that period, because you don't know people. I mean, women don't have same pain threshold. I mean, it differs. People have very painful menstrual period, and you want to come, and that's what I talked about earlier on presenteeism. They come, they stay in the workplace, but are they really productive? What do you need them for in the workplace? And again, you subject them to further embarrassment. Everybody comes to ask them, what's wrong with you? Is she going to stand and explain to more than 200 people, I'm going through menstrual pain, so that every month we know when she's in her cycle? We don't need that. When they're in the cycle, make a policy. They can take time off within that period. They can work remotely. Just my time of the month is coming. I need to work from home, and that should be approved. Then people that are also going to what you call pre-menopausal symptoms or condition. I mean, we need to also provide for them in the workplace, because it's not easy, and we need to understand that these people have to deal with a lot of change, a lot of hormonal changes that come with their body configuration. We need to acknowledge this and make it a part of what is covered within our occupational health, safety, and well-being policy in the workplace. So these are some of the two clear items that are sparking right now that speaks directly to women.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Now, a large share of African workforce, operate in the informal sector. We can always talk about the formal sector, the blue collar and every other thing, but we have those who operate outside, the 9 to 5. How do we address and protect health and safety issues regarding these people?
See, sadly, I think that's where we are here, and that's where we almost hold African Union responsible, because Africa and I think Asia has the highest number of informal sector, and we have the highest number of the younger workforce globally. In Africa right now, I think it's about 79% or so informal work, people that employ the informal workforce. And when you look at the world, I mean, the world has a work population of about 3 point something billion, and 80% of them, they are deskless workers. That's what we talk about, informal workers. And when you look at the GDP of Africa, they contribute, more than 70% of African GDP. This is the critical mass. In Nigeria, as a clear example, which of course we all live in, people come out of school, there's no job. They create their job. We should see what we can do as a people to help even semi-formalize the informal sector. Make provision for them. Even policies, national policies, they are not covered. If policies does not provide for you, what do you do? They are not covered in a national occupational health and safety policy. First, understand that these have volume of people working within this sector. Provide for them in the policy. Things as help them draft, even if it's a one page health and safety policy, as it concerns their business. Oh, this is what you should do. When you want to do this, you must wash your hand before you do this. After this, you must wash your hand again. When you go to, you must do this. So just let them know that this and this and this is, they're able to protect them, and not just that. Train them on how. Don't just tell me I should wash my hand. Teach me how to wash hands. Teach me how to wash hands. And by the time they get used to this, I'm not saying that it will rule out all the health and safety issues. It will reduce the incidence, the exposure to something that is not significant anymore. We need to bring them in. Most times when we have conversation, even across Africa, when we have a safety conversation, they are always left out. Let's look for, the Barbers Association. Let's look at the vulcanizer. Look at the market cooperative. We need to start taking the message to them, speak to them. We need to have market that is clean and safe and hygienic, because most of the food that we eat are sold in those markets. So we need to start talking to them, okay, those that sell meat, what do you do? Also when you keep meat, you buy meat from the market, you keep that meat in the trunk of your of your vehicle for a very long time, or maybe you go to someone to go and fix your car. That heat can compromise that meat, that it becomes poisonous for you to eat. So these are some of the key issues we should be teaching them. We should organize a market show. Go to market, just take 10, 20 minutes, tell them all they need to know about S&S. And these are things that should be spearheaded by government. Government doesn't have, I'm not so sure, government has a unit within its Ministry of Labor and Employment that focuses on the informal sector. There you have the largest population of Nigerian workers. Yes. It is very critical. I'm happy you brought that up. That's something that we must give attention to.
Another issue I would like us to look at, though it was rampant at the point, maybe years back, but now I think it seems to have reduced, is suicide. At some point in time, we heard of a lady who dropped at Third Mainland Bridge and jumped into the river. We've had so many cases like that. We've had even successful attempted suicide that were rescued. But in your own experience, what are the factors, let's start from there, what are the factors that would lead a man or a woman to want to just end it all?
You see, understand the fact that studies have said that one in 3 persons will suffer mental health issues in his lifetime. Okay, 1 in 3. So when you look at that, you see the statistics is huge and people suffer diverse things. You see, nobody wakes up on, you see, the path that leads to hell was paved with good intention. Nobody wakes up one day and say that when I get to 27 years old, I'll kill myself. Things happen. But most times when these things happen, what we find is that help doesn't come to people's way as early as they want and as the way they will want it. Do you understand? So, the world we live in right now, we are no longer our neighbor's keeper. When we're growing up, we live a communal life where whatever happens within the community changes, people notice it. Have you seen Mr. Ifada? I haven't seen for the past 2 days. People don't want to wait to see. They go and knock in his room. Only find out Mr. Ifada is sick. Community carry Mr. Ifada and go to the hospital. That was communal living we grew up with. But now what we have is that people live in fenced houses. We are all prisoners in our own homes. So people are going through a lot in their homes. We can't access them. So the truth is that we need to come back again to how it was, where we look out for each other. Everybody is too busy. See, a writer wrote a few years ago, said, in the workplace, everybody is broken. Everybody is broken and separated. The only thing connected in the workplace are the systems. Do you understand? We don't look out for each other anymore, even in our community. So you find that someone has gone through a lot, and the ability to cope, he's lost everything. Ability to cope, he doesn't have it anymore, and nobody is speaking to him. That's why when I'm doing training, I tell people, bring out your phone, look out for 5 to 10 people you have not heard from for a very long time. You will do that now also. Write their names down. When you get up today, call them. We can't be too busy to look out for each other. So most times, at the time we now say, oh, he gone too soon. Is this not Mr. Adeboye? But it's your friend. You didn't look for him. So Adeboye was going through a lot. You were not even in his life. He suffered solitary, he suffered a lot on his own, lost so many things. He couldn't hold it anymore. A lot changed in his body, and he tried suicide the first time somebody saw him, and he attempted again and he died. But Adeboye and us, we belong to the same club. We're not seeing Adeboye anymore. Nobody looked out for him. All we saw was his obituary. But that brings us to the point that we have to go back to where we started from. If we all look out for each other, we are not saying we can stop the spate of suicide, but we're able to get what you call intervention, get care to people before they get that point where suicidal ideation become an issue. So that is the point. So there's a vacuum where we are all self-centered, we care about ourselves, is only me, myself, and I. No. When I'm a victim of that because I lost a friend I wasn't looking out for like that. So what I do right now, I'm still paying for that. What I do right now, when I'm driving, a name crosses my mind, I park and I call the person. If we all do this, find out that And I found out that when I call some people, I meet them in a very terrible state. In a very terrible state. So let's not be too busy to see that all we care about is ourselves. We are a committee of people who love ourselves. Let's look out for each other. If you don't see me, call me. If you don't see him, call him. If you don't see him, call him. We're able to connect again. Because the truth is that somebody is going through a lot. That call and show a concern that I really care about you. Just imagine you call somebody and you find out it's again, look out for people's status on their WhatsApp. I look out for that now. When you want to know what people are going through, you can find, some elements in the status.
Sure.
So when my friend was telling me they saved a life. A colleague of theirs was writing her status, a lot of things for 2 days. I'm tired. I don't think anybody who wants me. When you see, don't think they're just bluffing. When somebody said, I'm tired of life, don't take that statement so casually or feel the person is not serious. No matter how little it is, act on it. They called the lady, almost the lady was able to express to them all that she was going through, that she's tired. And we don't know if that was the day she was going to actually carry out the act. And they not told her, why would you want to do this? What about people like us that care for you? Do you know how many people love you, people like us? Do you know that even my wife that is pregnant, we've decided that you'll be the godmother of that girl. If that girl is born, where will we tell her our godmother? At the point where they said that, you see, it's not every word that you speak to people that breaks people.
Yeah.
There is that word that comes at that time, the person gets broken. When you get that to that point of brokenness, you are able to help the person. At that point, the girl got broken. I said, you people love me so much that you feel I am of that value that I can be the godmother of your unborn child. The girl started crying. So you know what? Stay where you are. We are driving to your place. That was how they saved that girl. So we must look out for it. Suicide doesn't just happen in one day. There's a build-up before the person takes the action. Within that process of build-up, where were the people around such persons? So let's go back and see how we can look out for each other. We are able to reduce this spate of suicide because everybody is going through a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much, Doctor. That was really emotional anyways. And I'm glad I actually started doing what you said now, yesterday. The moment I got to the office, I called my classmates that I have not spoken to many years ago, and you needed to hear the reactions, the screams, and I'm not going to stop. I'll continue maybe after this show. Now, religious centers, and I don't know if we should consider them as workplace, but we've come to see that most times they treat mental health as spiritual. So you now see people tell you that they want to go for deliverance because they are having some mental issues, or you see a pastor or a religious leader tell you that there are some demons that are speaking in your head. Now, there is a mindset that we need to change here now when it comes to religious leaders and their understanding about mental health and safety generally. How do we change those narratives? Because we need to tell this story differently. If not, the other part of the world, we keep seeing us as they're religious people and they don't pay attention to their health.
You see, mental health and well-being, when you talk about mental health and well-being, it talks about an element, talks about even the spiritual well-being. It's also very important. They have a role to play. I mean, when somebody feels he's depressed and he wants to rely on the word of God and said, I want to just go to church and have my quiet moment and talk to my God. That is spiritual. I believe in that. So we must draw the line where those limits are. And there's a place for therapy. There's a place for treatment. There's a place for counseling. So in the churches, you can't just say, oh, come, somebody has mental, come, we cure me. No. When you're doing that, you're literally stepping. I'm not saying God cannot do that. I'm a Christian. You're basically stepping above or beyond your limit. Know where the work you have to do, where it stops. Know when to refer people to hospitals. That's why we have signs. The pastors, they go to hospitals, to do their checks. But people that worship under them rely on God for their well-being. But the pastor that teaches them, the pastor comes forward to do his annual medical checks. a friend of mine just finished his study in one of the cancer centers, one of the cities in Africa, and where she was telling me that one of the key issues she found out why cancer was prevalent from the study she did, could reveal that people have cancer. They come to the hospital and they have early stage cancer, and it's detected, through screening. And they tell the people, oh, you have cancer, and this is what we saw, and we were able to treat it. Thank God we saw it, and you come for early management. The person, God forbid, takes the result and disappear from the clinic. They don't see the person they get here after 2 years. When they take that result, they go to church and go and start praying in church. I'm not saying prayer is bad. Let's know when we have to pray. Let's know when we have to seek medical help. They go to church and start praying, and some are fasting with that cancerous condition, and they come back after 2 years. The cancer has evolved to stage 3 cancer, and there's nothing anybody can do anymore. So we need to understand that, yes, it's good to go to church to seek those moments with your Creator. It's fine. But understand the fact that there's a limit, and there's a place where you have to seek mental help for people that have been trained to manage mental issues. And this is where I draw it. This is where I sum it up.
All right, so rounding off, I'd like to share a story also. In my former workplace, we had a driver who went through a major operation, and he was actually advised to take 1 month off, but he insisted and came back to work. And we were all angry about this man. That why would you do that? And he started working, and the CEO didn't see anything. About a month after, he died. That was quite sad. So where I'm driving at is, do we have existing labor, occupational laws that protect the rights of workers? Because these are crucial things we need to discuss. What policies need to be enacted? What needs to change? How can the federal government, step in this time around?
See, there are policies actually, and there are policies that are legislations. But like what I said, most of the legislations are either outdated, right? Outdated, and some countries don't have, like Nigeria as a clear example. You and I live here. We don't have, as a country, we don't have an occupational health and safety legislation. And it's sad. What we have is Factory Act, which of course is not sufficient. But we have occupational safety policy. So these are the things. This is where issues start. And occupational safety legislation, it covers every worker that work with that geographical location, that country, where that policy have what you call the jurisdiction. Okay? So they're enforceable, they are punitive actions. That's why you can say, okay, based on this policy and violation of workers' rights, this company can be sued, or based on S&S, but we don't have we don't have all that. So the truth is that we need to see how we can, because it's not just about occupational safety practitioners, it's not about us alone. We are workers as well. You're a worker. Everybody needs to start lending their voice to this, because our quest or our aspiration is that every worker that leaves his or her family for a workplace every day has the right to return back to the family the same way he left. But if that is not happening, there's a problem. I was reading earlier today, CBN report of 2025, the first half of 2025, how much Nigeria spent on foreign education was $30.7 billion. That's what we spent. Now, the question is, these people go abroad to school, spend this money, just put the figure down, spend the money for people to go abroad to school, they all come back to the country, assuming, and they go into the workplace because there are no laws that protect workers in the workplace. Maybe 50% go to the workplace, about let's say even 7% of them die in their first 24 months of work, or get injured or become invalid, and they cannot work anymore. Do you know the laws? Why nobody is taking this thing serious? Because we are not able to put cost to what we are losing. The country is bleeding because there are no laws to protect its people. We must see occupational health and safety as part of national economic index. You can't measure how profitable or productive a country is without using the component of occupational health and safety, and how many people we've lost over the years to actually do the correlation. If a man dies that was just about 27 years old, the calculation has to be how much was spent in his education from the time he was born till he graduated, became 27 years old. If he worked to 60 years retirement age, he has how many years to work? What would have been his salary increase, and you calculate it, you find out that when one person dies as a result of workplace accident, the cost is huge to the nation as a whole. Not just that, what about the parents that trained him or her through school with the hope that when I get old, this child will take care of me? So you create secondary victims. So it's not just the person that dies or that got injured and killed in the workplace that is the issue. It's the family that you have hurt also as the secondary victim that should also be considered. So whichever way, when the country takes health safety and well-being of people seriously, we block a lot of passage that bring pain and trauma to family who ought not to actually suffer trauma. Because when a man dies, the family has to go through a lot. You create a vacuum, and the family that have no business with the workplace, but the pain extends to them, and they have to suffer for, things that are preventable. And most of these accidents and illnesses in the workplace, they are all preventable if we implement occupational safety policies and safe practices.
Thank you, Dr. Eden. This is so good. We need to have you again.
Honestly,
You guys should just employ me here.
Yes, thank you very much for your insight.
Pleasure.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for
Thank you
inviting
so
me. I
much,
enjoyed
Doctor.
myself, actually. Thanks for the very stimulative conversation. Okay.
All right, such a powerful conversation. Mental well-being, occupational health, and operational safety standards. And just like Dr. Eden said, if you are watching right now, pick up your phone, look at 5 numbers, and call and find out. You don't know what that person is going through. You might just be that voice that will save that life.